Magenta paintbrush is one of the coolest plants out there for a couple of reasons that I'll get to in a second. First, just know that this is a rather short plant, rarely more than a few inches tall, so be sure to keep an eye out for the foliage. The leaves end in three slightly pointed lobes, which is one characteristic you can use to distinguish magenta paintbrush from a close relative that we monitor on the Glacier Basin Trail, the scarlet paintbrush. So what makes these plants so cool? They are really good at making do with very few resources. We think of them as brilliant cheapskates. First of all, they're hemiparasitic, meaning that they can tap into the root systems of other plants and steal a little bit of their energy and nutrients. That sounds terrible, but actually they don't tend to do a lot of harm to their neighbors. After all, if you're mooching off someone, you want to make sure they stick around to keep giving you what you want. The second strategy magenta paintbrushes use to make a little go a long way requires that we look at a photograph instead of a drawing. Okay, here is the most surprising thing about magenta paintbrush. Despite its name, those brilliantly bright magenta or purple parts are not flowers. Large, showy flowers are very expensive for plants to make. You know what's cheaper? Leaves. Plants can be very creative about repurposing leaves in all kinds of different ways, and paintbrushes create bracts or modified leaves that look like flowers, and in this case they are a deep red in color, and that happens to attract their pollinators, which are hummingbirds. The flowers themselves are much smaller and not very noticeable. They're those little yellow projections the arrow is pointing to in the second photo. This makes it very easy to distinguish between the budding and flowering phases. If you only see magenta bracts and no yellow spikes, it's not flowering yet. The fruiting stage has these large brown bulbous capsules, and during the seed release phase, the capsules will crack open and look very dry and crispy. Like all of our species, once all the seeds are gone, that phase is over. You can lean in and look closely inside the capsules to check on this, but it's very important that you don't touch the plants themselves.